Morning, guys. It's a bright sunny day. We are in Udaipur. Just heading into the city palace. The ticket bookings are right behind me. So get one and then head in through that massive entrance that you can see with all the flags adorning it. So yeah, can't wait to get in. So just got the ticket, guys. Walking in, this is the main entrance. You can see got massive doors. It's a three-way part. I'm going through the middle. And, just walking in now. I'm gonna walk super slow when I hold the camera to get some hyper smoothing effect. I think there's a nice viewpoint there. Let me go take a look at the city from one of the highest locations. You can oversee most of Udaipur from here, I believe. Small city, but very pretty and very well preserved. The wind's blowing. I don't have a muffler, so it might be a bit of disturbance.
White bag क्या है? White bag से खाना नहीं है।
पहले सागो करिए।
So, we've got some wooden horses and lions, elephants, and things which look quite dated. So this is the facade of one of the main buildings here. So let's get into it. Nice view of the other side with those yellow, white and red flags. The weather has been delightful so far. You know, gets sunny, not hot but sunny and bright during the day, then nice and cold early morning and towards the evenings the nights are super cold. unless you're used to this type of a chill breeze. This is the place from where we enter. It's called Khana Ki Pol. City Palace Museum main entrance. It's got a big shield right on top. There's a ton of people here, guys. So just putting the mask on. COVID's still around. Look at that. It's a door with some lovely painting all along the sides. Love the exquisite carvings on these doors, guys. There's another door there, but entry isn't permitted, so just continue on. I prefer, the off times when there are lesser people around, so you get a better idea of what the place is like. You gotta make do with what you have. You can't always pick and choose. But it is crowded. That's for sure. So here are the offices. That's the way to the museum. And just entering security now. Thank you, Bhaiya. Wow. Look at the tile work here. The gods with a lot of floral designing on it. I don't want to block the entrance, so I'll just continue on. Wow. This is apparently the armor worn by the king himself. Just give you a good look at it. King's shield and his sword in the sheath. It says the total weight of the armor and the weapons is 35 kgs, guys. That's basically half a human being. At least someone of my size. It's a massive spear there right on top. Good stuff. The other side now. The buildings themselves preserved in great condition and are very well maintained. Just entering the other side. Some sort of temple here. Paintings. Palanquin being carried. Gotta mind my head as I move in. Maharana Karan Singh Ji, 1620 to 1628. Okay, so believed to be descendants of Sri Ram, one of the gods. Look at this, guys. This must be marble. Look how well it's been decorated. Look at the doorways. This place, this hallway somehow reminds me of the scene where Shahid and Deepika are walking down just before he enters battle, hand in hand. Something about this hallway that is reminiscent of that scene in Padmavat. Chair, which was presented by or brought to India by King George V, the father of Queen Elizabeth II. If you watch The Crown, you get a better understanding of the Commonwealth and the hierarchy to the throne of the United Kingdom. You can also see the Commonwealth crest there on the chair. And this is Maharana Fateh Singh. It's a beautiful portrait. Maybe his two horses, one called the Red Lad and the other one called Expert. Lovely glass paintings, stained glass paintings in the background for decorative purposes. Guys, look. At how well it's been carved. I mean, remember that this is done in stone. So one wrong hit of the hammer and the chisel and this whole frame has to be scrapped. So how much effort and precision must have gone into making these things. If you look closer, you can see outside, get an overview of the entire city. is that it's super crowded today. I mean, it's a Tuesday afternoon, roundabouts, about 11:45. Other than that, it's still a nice place, a majestic palace, and the quarters in and around. It's called the City Palace Museum, which of course used to be the palace back in the day, but now it's open to public, so you get a sense of what royal life was back. This is Sheesh Mahal, or a glass room where the king apparently came on certain occasions. That's what I overheard one of the guides saying. So this was a library. We wrote Veer Vinod, which is the history of Mewar, in this room. The tile work is gorgeous in the hallway here. Wow, I think we've got an original manuscript there, made of papyrus possibly, the Egyptian material, with the pen, and you can see the pen stand and a lamp to write at night. That's just historic. Apparently a few Western writers sat in this room and created their works. मोती महल,
जिसकी रस्सी दूसरे वाले कमरे में दासिया बैठकर हाथ घुमाया करती है।
Wow.
That was a traditional sitting arrangement for the king, and the free time he used to come here and enjoy the leisure. So that is the old shisha, which is made out of the silver. And on the floor you can see some here. It's like a
पुश करने का हेल्प करो पुश करो जोर से पुश करो दीवार
हाँ दीवार है
वॉल है ये हमारे साथ जो कभी पुश मत परेशान हो जाए
balcony. the sun emblem. Made quite recently, in the 30s or 40s, and you can tell that it's not as old. Lovely detailing on these walls. This was a weighing scale. This is from Maharana Bhupal Singh. Apparently was crippled. He couldn't walk. Nice courtyard out front. So, got some nice inlay work. From the 1800s.
मैं इनका वेट कर रहा था, इनके साथ
So we move on.
यहाँ जो देख रहे हैं होगा जो मेमोरी पूरी देगी
Going towards Zinana Mahal, the Queen's Palace.
गुप्त रास्ते गाने के लिए तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए।
Look like enamel painted walls. Some cooking vessels out here. Utensils. This must be the kitchen area. One of the rooms, which are staged to give you a good feel of what things were like. Same room from another angle. This must be the main room where Queen lived. See a few of the objects laid out. Fireplace, fan, a few portraits in the walls, a nice chandelier, and a dated fan. Nicely preserved room. Finally, there's no one ahead or behind me. For a few seconds. So I believe we're out of the main palace. We're into the museum side, and isn't much historic value to really show. So I'll end this video here, guys. I hope you liked the tour. I did my best to get a few good shots. Held the camera nice and still and things like that. Gave it the best commentary that I could. So yeah, that's it for now. Signing off. Cheers. I'm here, guys, at the painting gallery, the fag end of the entire museum and palace tour, and there's no one inside. It's nice and quiet. So what impressed me was, of course, the work that they've got on display, but a few of the captions. I mean, I've got a penchant for writing, and some of the things that they've written are just I don't want to use the wrong word, but yeah, it tickles my fancies for sure. Yeah, so Yeah, nothing to speak of in that one. Yeah, so if you look at the first sentence here, it says, instead of indulgence, portrayals of the king immersed in amusements with women enhances the conception of the king as an ideal, aesthetically refined man. Yeah, it's a nice opinion. You know, indulgence, of course, referring to alcohol and possibly shisha and other things that were detrimental to their physical health. Yeah, there were a couple of nice things in this one. You know, yeah, for a king, after completing his kingly duties, he was to strive for pleasure and material things like perfumes, wines, garlands, and jewelry. Right? So they call that suk. And discerning patrons of art, music, poetry, and culture, the Maharanas cultivated all senses to attain the ultimate aesthetic experience, or rasa. You know, it wasn't just about war and battle. There were softer sides which were part of their lives and an integral part of their lives. Royal processions were one of the most spectacular public enactments of kingship in Udaipur. Right. Engulfed by thunderous clouds and stormy rain, Fateh Singh and his closest nobles traversed the lush countryside together. The pouring rain flows into small rivulets on the verdant hills of the Aravalli Valley. Nice way to put it. A king's power was also reflected and magnified by his inner circle, nobles, queens, retinue, and even animals. When portraits were exchanged as diplomatic gifts from one ruler to another, they indicated alliance. Right? That's how important these artifacts were in those days. With careful manipulation, the portraits could be critical or flattering. Here, the slate grey background and the heavy shading on the face make Fateh Singh seem bleak and unenthusiastic. So you can see he's not really in the right mood. And you can compare it with this one where it says it's lit by an unknown source. That's the effect that the artist has created. It says Maharana Bhupal Singh is both a warrior and a learned man in this regal portrait. But from what I know, he was lame and crippled, so he couldn't walk. And this image of him standing is the artist's liberty and imagination. This wouldn't have been in reality. So you can see that it's not a photograph, it's a painting. These paintings, guys, I mean, it's on canvas. I mean, these could be prints. It says reproduced from Beam Vilas, but the amount of detail on the sash and the whole dress, it's mind-blowing. Heroine sabers, beetle leaf. So there's a lot of, verdant greenery to show what the land of Udaipur was like in and around as they went hunting back in the 17th and 18th centuries. Those time periods. All massive frames. If you look at the size of these, the frames and the paintings, they're all on a grand scale. And it was one particular sentence in this passage that I quite liked. Yeah, it says, distancing ourselves from the ethics of the narrative in these paintings and reframing them as landscape leads us to appreciate the space and geography of Udaipur. Ethics and narratives in these paintings and reframing them as landscape. That's deep, guys. So well thought out. This one is super intricate, almost like a photograph. The amount of detail on their faces. They must have used real gold for those paintings as well. You can see the way it's shining. Priests or Goswamis were intermediaries between a king's political power and divine legitimacy. This is a nice one. In an unconventional portrayal, the Nimbit Swaroop Singh sits leisurely on a gaddi where his shield and sword are prominently displayed. So I quite liked here where it says the royal attributes like an aureole and accessories like pearl and emerald jewelry, encrusted weapons and gold furnishings convey his legitimacy. An aureole is like a halo around the head. You know, that's an added touch from the artist. Here it says Maharana Swarup Singh is dressed in regal finery. Nice choice of words. The artists of Indian paintings rarely sign their works. Yeah, that's about it, guys. We've covered the entire painting gallery. It was nice and quiet, so a bit easier to film down here. On that note, I think let's call it a day. Send tour of the city palace and the museum and the sculptures around, where I didn't record much. At Udaipur, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you. Bye for now.